Himawari's body hit the ground, and Boruto's entire world simply ceased to exist. It was the sound of deafening silence that shattered reality in the worst way possible. Kawaki won, but at the same time, he signed his own death sentence. The brightest and most powerful light was born from the deepest and sickest darkness. Bro, we gotta rewind the tape, because you are not gonna believe how this started. Konoha's sky was clear and calm before absolute hell broke loose. Kawaki invaded the village, and he did not want to fight, but he wanted to execute. Nobody saw the twisted genius of his bloodbath coming. You need to understand that Kawaki set up a perfect and completely subversive trap. He did not go after Boruto because he knew the clash would be balanced and exhausting. He isolated Himawari near the Hokage monument and used her as the ultimate bait to break his brother's spirit. Boruto felt the disturbance in the chakra and ran desperately to save his sister, but the plan was already done. When Boruto arrived, the scene was an aesthetic and terrifying nightmare to witness. Kawaki was not angry, and he kept a cold and purely calculating expression while holding his weapon. Himawari tried to defend herself with a gentle fist, but the power gap was an absurd and unfair cowardice. Kawaki activated his karma and pierced her chest with a black rod in a ruthless and surgical way. That was the exact moment Boruto's mind fractured completely and forever. The scream he let out was not from a human, but from an animal losing its own soul. Blood stained the sacred ground of Konoha, and Kawaki just turned his back and ignored the body on the floor. But Kawaki made the stupidest mistake of his entire life, because he did not look up. The pain did not spawn dark hatred in Boruto's heart, and that is the biggest plot twist of this whole story, man. The extreme anguish purified every single cell of his karma and purged Momoshiki's filthy presence. A blinding and immaculate glow started leaking from Boruto's pores while the tears dried on his paralyzed face. The air around them got incredibly heavy, and gravity itself seemed to cry and bow down along with the hero. You can imagine the scene with the whitest and most painful light ever existing breaking the darkness of the night. Boruto's Jugen fully opened and did not emanate shadows, but an absolute and divine clarity that blinded anyone looking. Boruto's back ripped with pure energy, and 6 celestial wings sprouted all at once and lit up the entire village. The Seraph Mode awakened and transformed the unbearable grief into a divine and totally untouchable fury. Kawaki stopped walking because he felt the weight of the universe on his own back and started shaking uncontrollably. He turned around slowly, and his cold killer pose vanished and gave way to pure and instinctive terror. Boruto's light was so absurd and intense that it disintegrated the clouds and lit up the night as if it was noon. Boruto was not just strong, but he became the very definition of God walking on Earth. Dude, the way Boruto levitated off the ground without making a single sound is going to give you chills down your spine. He did not need to weave hand signs because the whole environment bowed to his supreme will. Kawaki tried to summon karma rods, but the purifying light simply erased the attacks in midair before they touched the hero. The judgment was ready to be executed, and the celestial fury would have zero mercy on the killer. Boruto raised just one finger, and the light's pressure violently crushed Kawaki's knees into the stone floor. Boruto's voice sounded like a silent thunder, and he decreed the traitor's final sentence without showing any emotion. You gotta see what this immaculate light did to Kawaki's body and how reality broke into pieces. The real divine nightmare of Konoha just started now, and nobody is ready for the monumental attack that is about to happen. Kawaki tried to resist the crushing weight of that aura, but his muscles started tearing from so much pressure. The light emanating from Boruto did not burn like fire because it acted like an impenetrable and suffocating glass wall. The traitor growled like a cornered beast and activated his karma to the max level to try to escape that divine punishment. But his dark energy simply evaporated as soon as it came into contact with the absurd clarity of the Seraph Mode. You need to visualize the absolute humiliation of this scene. Bro Boruto slowly descended from the air, and every step he took created stairs of pure and shimmering light under his feet. Kawaki fired a blast of condensed and lethal chakra, but Boruto just kept walking and did not dodge a single millimeter. The explosion hit the celestial shield and turned into harmless and glowing dust particles before even scratching the hero. Kawaki's face twisted in despair, and he finally understood the magnitude of the grotesque mistake he made. He morphed his right arm into a bizarre and monstrous blade and jumped with all the strength left in his body. The strike was fast enough to cut mountains, and the air whistled with the violence of the fulminating attack. But Boruto did not even need to move his arms, because one of his light wings stretched out and blocked the blade like it was paper. The impact shattered Kawaki's modified arm into 1,000 pieces, and the sound of breaking bone echoed through the silent village. Boruto looked deep into his sister's killer's eyes, and there was no rage, but only a terrifying and celestial void. The Jugen eyes shined brighter and emitted a pulse of clarity that threw Kawaki against the sacred Hokage rock. The stone caved in with the force of the impact, and the traitor spat blood while trying to figure out what was happening. Man, the whole landscape started changing shape and reacting to our protagonist's clean and majestic power. Konoha's ground turned into a crystal-clear water mirror and reflected the majesty of the 6 light wings in a perfect way. Kawaki tried to get up from the illuminated water, but the very gravity of that space forced him to kneel down again. Boruto created an absolute domain where darkness and hatred were not even allowed to exist. You think it ended there, but the demonstration of Boruto's divine power was just warming up. The hero opened his right hand, and the ambient chakra started spinning real fast and converging to the center of his palm. It was not a regular Rasengan because the sphere was made of solid starlight and emitted the sound of a choir of angels singing. The glow of the technique was so strong that it erased the stars from the night sky and left everything with the color of dawn. Kawaki screamed in pure terror and tried to absorb the jutsu using the ocular absorption power of his dark armor. He reached out his left hand in desperation and hoped the chakra would be drained like it always happened in normal fights. But Boruto's celestial power was completely immaculate and way too dense for a fake god's body to handle absorbing. Kawaki's hands started cracking and glowing from the inside because the light was purifying his rotten flesh from the inside out. The traitor backed away, screaming in pain and holding his useless arm while the crystal water trembled beneath his feet. Boruto walked calmly, and the starlight sphere kept spinning and pulsing with an infinite and overwhelming energy. He did not run, and he did not shout the name of the attack, because his superiority required zero brute effort. The scene was beautiful and macabre at the same time, and you wouldn't be able to blink for a second with so much tension built up. The hero threw the glowing sphere, and it did not fly fast, but floated slowly and inexorably towards the target. Kawaki tried to shrink his own body to escape the impact zone using the secret ocular techniques he stole from Ishiki. But the light of that divine jutsu canceled any spatial fold and locked the dimensions in a state of absolute and inflexible purity. There was no place in the entire universe where Kawaki could hide from Boruto's judging light. The sphere touched the traitor's chest, and there was no explosion of fire or loud and destructive chaos. A solid white pillar of light swallowed Kawaki's body and shot up until it pierced the planet's stratosphere majestically. His scream was instantly silenced by the celestial pressure, and his black silhouette trembled inside that pillar of purifying energy. Boruto raised his other hand, and the real weapon of judgment started taking shape to finalize the opponent's existence. Bro, the suspense of this final stretch is going to make your breath stop, and you'll be glued to the screen until the end. The pillar of light slowly started dissipating, and Kawaki fell to his knees, completely toasted but still breathing. Boruto did not just want to hurt him, so he materialized the brightest and scariest sword the ninja world has witnessed in millennia. The Starlight Blade was ready to cut Kawaki's soul, but something unusual blinked in the traitor's dead eye and changed everything. Kawaki's body started laughing mechanically, and his karma was not dying, but was adapting to the light in a grotesque way. The voice that came out of his throat was no longer human and revealed a dark secret about Himawari's death that paralyzed Boruto instantly. The divine sword hesitated in the air for a millisecond, and you are not going to believe the insane revelation that made the Seraph Mode waver and blink before the final strike. Kawaki's distorted laugh echoed through the water mirror and broke the sacred silence of that domain of light. The guttural voice revealed that Himawari's soul was not dead, but trapped inside the timeless dimension of his own black karma. Kawaki used the girl as a spiritual shield and any fatal damage to him would erase her existence forever. Boruto's jugen widened and the 6 celestial wings trembled because absolute purification would exact the highest price possible. The hesitation lasted only a second, but it was enough for Kawaki to try a desperate and dirty counterattack. He puked a black slime that tried to corrupt the light and crawled across the mirrored floor towards Himawari's fallen body. The traitor wanted to absorb the rest of her chakra, so Boruto had to make a brutal and immediate decision. The hero did not back down, and the Starlight's sword shined even brighter because he understood the true purpose of his divine power. Man, the light of the Seraph Mode was not made to destroy matter, but to separate sin from the soul with surgical precision. Boruto ignored Kawaki's threat and stabbed the flawless blade into his own chest without a second thought. The pain did not matter because his body served as a sacred conduit to amplify the celestial energy to the maximum limit. The protagonist's blood turned into glowing dust, and the domain of light began to pulse to the exact rhythm of his racing heart. Kawaki stopped crawling and looked back with a paralyzing fear locking every muscle of his corrupted body. Boruto's sacrifice activated the true essence of judgment, and the blade, pierced in his chest, began to suck the darkness from the environment. The mirrored dimension spun, and walls of pure clarity rose up and trapped the killer in an inescapable and blinding cage. The traitor tried to scream, but the lights swallowed the sound and left only the celestial humming filling the intact space. You're gonna get hyped because the hero pulled the sword out of his own chest, and the wound closed instantly with a shining seal. He walked up to the cage of light, and his gaze carried the wisdom of 1,000 gods and the sadness of an older brother. Kawaki hit the glowing walls and begged for mercy because his black karma was melting like wax in the fire. Boruto raised a majestic sword, and the tip of the weapon touched the white sky of the domain with a silent majesty. You need to imagine the absolute silence taking over the scene before the final strike comes down and changes history forever. Boruto did not slice the opponent's physical body, but he aimed directly at the spiritual connection holding Himawari's soul. The sword came down in a perfect and majestic arc and made no sound as it sliced right through Kawaki's head from top to bottom. The starlight blade passed through the traitor like he was a ghost and cut the invisible chains of the unforgivable curse. The collision of pure light against the darkness of karma sparked a chain reaction that defied every law of ninja physics. A blast of white clarity swallowed both of them and swept the mirror dimension with a gentle but incredibly powerful shockwave. Boruto kept his eyes open and his stance unshaken while the energy storm disintegrated every trace of evil in the air. Kawaki was suspended in the core of this explosion, and the black mark started getting ripped from his skin layer by layer. Bro, the Otsutsuki parasite inside Kawaki screamed in agony and tried to cling to the host's life force to survive. But Boruto's Seraph Mode was flawless, and the light invaded the traitor's veins to burn the alien heritage from the root. Kawaki's body twisted in the air, and the darkness tried to flee, but was obliterated by the overwhelming clarity before touching the ground. The divine punishment was fulfilling itself with a terrifying beauty, and the visual spectacle of the scene was jaw-dropping. In the middle of this whirlwind of white light, Boruto reached out his left hand and pulled a warm and golden sphere of energy. It was Himawari's soul that was freed from the karma's grip and now floated safely in her brother's palm. Relief crossed the hero's face for a fraction of a second, but his focus needed to remain absolute to finish the job. He guarded the soul in his own chest and channeled all the remaining celestial energy into the sword to deliver the merciful strike. The light explosion hit peak intensity, and the celestial domain started cracking because the power was just too massive. Boruto funneled all 6 wings into a single focused beam and fired it against Kawaki's core to end the fight. The brightness swallowed everything and blinded anyone who might be watching this colossal clash of gods. But when the final light faded and the battlefield went back to being the destroyed village of Konoha, something completely impossible happened. Kawaki's body dropped to the ground with no karma mark and looked just like a normal passed out and harmless human. Boruto landed softly, and the wings of light started fading away as he walked towards Himawari's lifeless body. He placed his hand on her chest to return the soul and materialize the purifying miracle that would save us all. But when the golden energy touched the girl's heart, her eyes snapped open, and they were not blue. and certainly not human. Himawari's eyes glowed with an intense stellar white, and Boruto held his breath for a second of pure shock. The energy was not dark, nor did it carry the sick weight of the black karma, because it was purely divine and welcoming. The sacrifice of light fused her soul with the tiny remnant of Kurama's life force and created something unprecedented. She blinked, and the blinding glow faded, but left silver whisker marks on her serene face. The girl took a deep breath, and the air around vibrated with a purity that instantly calmed the protagonist's shattered heart. Boruto's Seraph Mode demanded a massive physical toll, but delivered the complete miracle without a single hidden flaw. He cried for the first time tonight and hugged his sister with all the strength left in his human body. The alien threat evaporated, and death was literally reversed by the absolute light of brotherly love. The 6 celestial wings on Boruto's back began to unravel and turned into thousands of golden light feathers. The dawn breeze scattered this energy all over the destroyed village of Konoha, and the miracle kept happening in a silent way. Every stone or piece of wood that received the touch of light went right back to its exact place from before the brutal battle. The Jugen's power rebuilt the entire war zone because the justice of light leaves no scars behind. Kawaki woke up in the middle of this shower of glowing feathers and tried to activate his karma out of pure combat reflex. But his arm was clean, and the alien mark no longer existed on his skin or in his corrupted soul. He looked at his own hands and felt a terrifying existential void, because now he was just a regular human. The fake god lost all his strength, and his immortality was ripped away from him forever with zero chance of coming back. Boruto gently let go of Himawari and walked up to the traitor with slow steps and no murderous intent at all. Kawaki waited for the final strike and closed his eyes, but the hero just reached out a hand to help him off the ground. The greatest punishment Boruto could ever deal was leaving his rival alive to deal with the weight of his own insignificance. The Seraph Mode taught that killing out of revenge is dirty, but forgiving through absolute power is the act of a true king. Tears fell from Kawaki's face, and he collapsed to his knees again because his arrogance was totally crushed. The light purified the traitor's troubled mind, and he finally saw the sick monster he had become over the years. He apologized with a choked voice and accepted the definitive defeat while the sun started rising on Konoha's horizon. The ninja era was saved, and the cold shadow of the Otsutsuki disappeared from Earth to never return again. Himawari stepped closer, and her new silver aura warmed the environment and confirmed that peace finally reigned in the world. Her eyes carried the wisdom of a celestial fox, but her smile was the same as that sweet and innocent little girl. Boruto deactivated the Jugen, and his eye went back to the crystal-clear human blue he inherited from his own dad. The journey of pain and suffering ended right here, with a flawless victory and not a single drop of dark blood spilled. The village of Konoha was perfectly intact and illuminated by the first sun rays of a new tomorrow with no wars and no fears. Boruto looked at the sky and felt the presence of Naruto and Sasuke, smiling and blessing that glorious outcome. The hero saved his sister and redeemed the killer and restored the order of the universe using only the clarity of his own soul. The legend of the Seraph Mode would be stamped in ninja history as the absolute peak of clean and unshakable power. No loose ends were left behind, because the cycle of hatred and karma was erased from the root once and for all. Kawaki would live as a peaceful mortal to pay for his sins and rebuild his own honor far away from the alien madness. The new White Light Fox will be the ultimate guardian, and Boruto could finally rest knowing everyone was safe. The hero's mission was concluded with absolute success, and reality was totally secure and purified. The story came to an end in an epic way, but the flash of this absolute miracle woke up an ancient entity hidden in the depths of the universe. If you got chills with this ending, then drop that awesome like and subscribe to the channel to support our grind. The Seraph Mode saga is wrapped up, but there is another video on the channel revealing who this cosmic creature is, and you need to watch it right now. Stay in peace, man, and I will catch you on the other side of the screen.